In one of the most anticipated sequels of the year, Adam Sandler brings back his famous golf character from about 30 years ago. And as most of his movies lately, this is exclusive to Netflix. Let's talk Happy Gilmore 2. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for Happy Gilmore 2. This is a Netflix original film, and most of the Sandler movies lately have been. He had that huge contract with them about 7 or 8 years ago, and so almost all of his movies go directly to the streaming service. This was co-written, as was the first one, by Sandler and Tim Herlihy, who at the time was an SNL writer. I don't know if he was the head writer, but he was certainly a big writer at Saturday Night Live at the time. And when the first Happy Gilmore came out, Sandler had just left the show. When Billy Madison came out, he was still on SNL, but this was his sort of first post SNL big movie, and of course, started the huge string of hits. So we'll get to all of this here and how this differs maybe from the first one and how it is similar in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a subscriber already for Dan Reviews It, thank you so much for that. I love it when you guys return and check out my content. But if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell too. That, of course, alerts you for all my new video drops. And you could like this video or comment below. That stuff helps the channel out tremendously, and I certainly would appreciate it. All right, so I just, as a refresher, watched the original Happy Gilmore the other day because I had not actually seen it since the original came out. It wasn't in theaters, but I saw it like when it hit VHS or whatever. So it's been about 28 years probably since I'd seen it. This was not one of the go-to Sandler movies for me. I've seen Billy Madison a bunch of times. I've seen Big Daddy a few times, The Wedding Singer, and about I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, my nephew was going through a bunch of these old Sandler movies, and I showed him Billy Madison, I showed him Big Daddy, I showed him Mr. Deeds, but this one he watched with his friend, so I didn't see this a few years ago when he did. So I wanted to refresh, because I remember thinking, oh, okay, it's an all-right movie. And actually, I think it's probably better than I remembered it. Maybe I lumped it in with some of those later Sandler movies, which are terrible, like the Zohan and Chuck and Larry and all of that. But this definitely holds a place, the original, with many, many people. That's why so many were excited to see this character return. And I have to admit, I rather enjoyed rewatching that first movie. The character of Happy Gilmore, yeah, he's a goof, yeah, he's an idiot, but he's got this great heart that I think we see in a lot of those Sandler characters that are complete idiots and do stupid things and silly things, but they actually have a really good heart, and that's what this character for me brought to the table, along with all the humor and of course Shooter McGavin, the classic comedy villain played by Christopher McDonald. He returns here with a lot of other people. So I would give the original Happy Gilmore like in the B minus kind of range. I rather enjoyed it. So this one, I wasn't sure how to feel about. I didn't really care that it was coming out. I know a lot of people were so excited about it. But we have a lot of returning people from the original cast, including Julie Bowen, like I mentioned, Christopher McDonald, Ben Stiller, Dennis Dugan, all reprised their roles. And unfortunately, a lot of the original cast members have passed. Carl Weathers, of course, his character Chubbs passes in the first movie. Spoiler. I don't know how they would have worked him in anyway, but Carl Weathers has passed. Joe Flaherty, who, was the jackass guy, he has passed. There's been a few along the way that are no longer with us from this film. Of course, his grandmother, she was pretty old in the original, so she's no longer with us. But here we have the present-day Happy Gilmore, who... I'm not even going to say why he has been not playing golf, but he hasn't played golf in about 10 years. I think that's a spoiler, even though it happens very, very early in the film, like the first scene. But I want you to go into this fresh. So he's now a working class dude. He works at a supermarket, trying to take care of his many children, one of which is played by his real life daughter, Sunny Sandler, who was in, I think she was the one in that movie, You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah, which was a Sandler collab with Netflix last year, which I rather liked. And one of his other daughters is in this as well, in a smaller role, Sadie Sandler. But you also have Jackie Sandler, who is I think the wife. She plays a dance instructor. So yes, Sandler is throwing his nepotism around like he has been. First it was, oh, let's bring all of my friends into the movie, and now more lately it's, oh, my daughter wants to be an actress, let's throw her into the movie, and etc. So that's a little hit or miss for me. I think his family members are okay enough actresses to pull it off. Better than some that we've seen, like Lily Rose Depp, for example. But we also have a ton of cameos in here, and I'm not going to go into them because I want you to be, pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of golfers that I didn't really know. They came up in the credits. I'm like, okay, I don't really know any of these people. John Daly, I know, and he plays a fictionalized version of himself. He's like a hermit that the Gilmore family is kind of taking care of. But you have a lot of SNL vets here, and actually a couple of current SNL people as well. And there are a couple of Sandler friends in very small cameo roles here, that we've seen in a lot of his other movies. So I'll let you be surprised about which ones show up. But you also have Bad Bunny here as Happy's new caddy, sort of an SNL, not a vet, but I think his big foray into acting thus far has been hosting SNL. So there was that connection there. And you have Benny Safdie, big friend of Sandler's lately, as the CEO of this Maxi energy drink, and the sponsor of Maxi Golf. And that's sort of where our plot lies. It's the old versus the new. Maxi Golf is this new, crazy, X Games type golf. And Sandler's Happy Gilmore is actually now more of an old school golfer, even though his antics in the first movie kind of inspired the Maxi way of golf. And oh yeah, we're just throwing stuff to the wind, and we don't care, and we're just going to go for broke, just like you did not care about tradition and not care about whatever. But now that Gilmore is in his 50s, he's like, well, there is something to be said for tradition. I side with the old school golfers. And one of his opponents in this movie is Haley Joel Osment, always great as a sort of foil for our main character. He looks so weaselly these days, and I really like him. I think he's parlayed that sort of child actor career into something interesting as an adult actor, where he sort of, his facial features never quite grew with the rest of his face, so he's got this real big face, and he looks sort of goofy, to be honest, but he uses that and goes with it in this movie and other things that he's done, like the Entourage movie and whatever. So I'll give him credit for that. But that's basically, what this is. Sandler, does not want to participate in this at all. He doesn't want to golf at all, but due to some issues with his alcohol addiction, he is going to lose the house again. Grandma's house that they fought so hard to keep in the first movie is on the chopping block again, and so he's like, okay, I got to get back into it. So let me do this. So that's the basic plot. We've gone on and on and on about that, but there's a lot to talk about with this movie. Just in the setup, because there are all of these cameos and everything. So I'll make my review rather brief, I guess. But look, if you're a fan of the first movie, I think you're really going to love this. If you hated the first movie, I don't know why you would be watching this to begin with. And if you're like me, who was like, okay, the first movie isn't like, an A+, 4-star affair. It's decent. It's definitely good in that early Sandler run. I still prefer, The Wedding Singer for sure. I still prefer Big Daddy. But Happy Gilmore has a lot of things going for it, that original film. And I think this one takes a lot of those ideas and sort of runs with them. And there are tributes that, if I didn't see the first movie so recently, I would go over my head. But there's some Bob Barker moments. There are little winks and nods to that first film that I definitely got more out of by rewatching that. So if you're a huge fan of that first movie, there's a lot of Easter eggs here for you to enjoy. And the style of humor is pretty similar. A lot of these Sandler movies lately are so bad because, well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is they're just horribly unfunny. And here, think Sandler, maybe in going back to this character, has sort of realized, okay, we can reel in a little bit of the complete nonsense humor and, making everything a fart joke and whatever, for 12-year-old boys, and actually focus a little more on the characters, because this is a character that people love. They don't just love that movie, but they love Happy Gilmore as a character. And I can see why. And so I think it was smart to kind of focus more on the characters than the idiotic humor. But because there's such a stepping stone from that first movie to build on, yes, a lot of the humor is still there because it's either referencing something from the first movie or taking a spin on a character that we knew from the first movie, or bringing something new to the table with this maxi group, but still, having a lot of fun with it. In fact, one of the best jokes in the movie is, believe it or not, a fart joke, and it has to do with the owner of the maxi company. And I don't usually go in for that kind of humor, but look, when it's a well-crafted joke, it's a well-crafted joke. So I think there's some laughs to be had here. And this was directed, by the way, by Kyle Newacek, who did not direct the first movie, but he has directed Sandler before. He did the first murder mystery film, which I thought was okay. And there is something to be said about knowing what your audience wants. Sandler has always known what his audience wants. Unfortunately, usually it's this, really idiotic, dumbed-down humor. But he knows how precious the Gilmore character is to so many. And so in that respect, I think he really treated this character and this movie delicately, because it is tough to do a so long in the tooth sequel, especially for a comedy. We've seen it time and time again. Zoolander 2 was not good. Dumb and Dumber 2 was not good. I liked the Coming to America sequel more than most, but a lot of people did not care for that. I thought the Bill and Ted's movie was pretty good recently. But for the most part, a lot of these, 20, 30-year later comedy sequels do not hit. This one, I think, matched the original pretty closely, honestly, in terms of its humor and its effectiveness. So overall, I leave Happy Gilmore 2 just probably slightly below that first one. I leave it with a B minus. And if you are a fan of Happy Gilmore, if you're a fan of golf, I think you'll probably appreciate this even more than I did, if you're a diehard fan of that first movie. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It, and we'll see you next time. Bye.